Capital Sales, and I am here to answer any questions, help you guys with designs, with quotes, anything to make sure that your projects go on without a hitch, to make sure that you are getting the best products for your installation. So with that being said, today we're going over 70-volt commercial audio. Simplified audio sometimes is used as well, and more specific, the new piece from Russound, the X-Zone 70V, and their new 70-volt speakers and 70-volt attenuator. So with that, again, want to thank you guys for hopping on, and let's get into the new 70-volt products. First, what is 70-volt? Okay, there's two types of audio for CI to consider. First one is residential gear, what you guys are used to, right? High current, low impedance, 4 ohm, 6 ohm, 8 ohm normally systems. And then there's what most people say is commercial or 70-volt systems, which is a constant high voltage, it's 70 volts, and a high impedance or high Z. Okay, we're going to talk about low Z and high Z. So again, low impedance or low Z is residential, what you're used to. High impedance or high Z is 70 volt, they're commercial. Okay. This is a great opportunity to get into. Okay. Sorry, wrong way. The X-Zone 70, a lot of opportunities. First, we're going to go over commercial applications. So some of the commercial applications that you may see: coffee shops, restaurants, dance studios, outdoor venues. And outdoor venues, this does not need to be strictly commercial. Okay, this could be your backyard, back deck, patio, any place that has, you're going to need more than 2 speakers to cover the area. Okay, so just keep that in mind. 70 volt does not have to be strictly commercial. You know, why do most residential integrators ignore 70 volt? All right, maybe it's because you guys are used to seeing just positive and negative terminals. Okay, you guys maybe aren't used to seeing a speaker that has multiple connections coming out. This can be intimidating if you guys have never seen this before. Each wire, let's explain these wires real quick here. All right, each wire, all it is a different power or volume setting. One connection is to the ground. All right, that's the same as residential or low impedance. And the other one is to set the wattage, to tap. You'll hear a lot of people, what's the tap rating? Okay, so each wire, one wire is 7.5 watts, one wire is 15 watts, one wire is 30, one wire is 60, et cetera, et cetera. So all that is how much power is that you're going to give that speaker. Okay, this also could work as a volume setting if you have one amplifier running multiple rooms where the bathrooms you want quieter than the main room. You could set that at a different volume setting. It's going to stay that way. All right, these are great reasons why not to worry about it. One, no matter how many wires, you're only going to be using 2. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many taps, you're only using 2 wires. This also gives you the ability to add on a lot of speakers with one amplifier. So if you have a 300 watt amp and you're using 7.5 watts per speaker, you can put a lot of speakers on a 300 watt amp. All right, it gets to be much simpler than anybody thinks. How it works is there's a step-up transformer in the amplifier. Oops. There's a step-up transformer and there's a step-down transformer. All right, in the amplifier is going to step up to create a constant voltage, which is 70 volts or 100 volts. The constant voltage is sent down the line to a single speaker wire. So you don't need multiple wires to go across to get to multiple speakers. Hence you would in a residential or low impedance area, 4 ohm, 6 ohm, 8 ohm, you're going to have one wire going to each speaker. This, you can have a lot of speakers on one wire. That also is cost efficient. And then at the speaker, there's a step-down transformer to be able to dump it down to a usable level. Okay, this is where the taps come in. How much wattage are we pulling off of that 70-volt system? So for installation-wise, you're going to see a 70-volt connection. On the back of the X-Zone 70, you got a 70-volt, 100-volt, and 4-ohm connection. You're going to go 70-volt connection. Run it right to the speaker, and as many speakers as you need. Okay, this is used as a Phoenix block. It's just a screw-down terminal, nice and easy. All speakers are made in parallel. This gives you the ability to run multiple speakers on a single wire. You can see in the design in the right-hand side. Now, to be able to cover that space, like we stated before, you may need a lot of speakers to recover a large space. Anytime that you need more than 2 speakers, stereo really doesn't work. You want to go with mono. And again, the high Z solution or 70 volt is the way to do this. And again, when you talk about power rating of an amplifier, you can put lower taps on the speaker and get more speakers on the same amplifier. More speakers at a lower tap is better. It's going to avoid hot spots. It's going to give you a more even coverage. All right. General rule of thumb, when you're working with, not paging, but when you're working with music, when you're working with an even coverage area, everybody's been in that installation where you walk around and also you can definitely tell you're under a speaker because it's loud, and then you walk 5 feet away, 10 feet away, and it's quiet, and then you keep walking and it's loud again. That can be really annoying when you're trying to adjust volume in a application. So the general rule of thumb to get an even coverage is if you have 10 to 12 foot high ceilings, speakers can be tapped at about 7.5 watts. Again, this just varies depending on the type of installation. If it's a breakfast or dining area, it's going to be less loud, quieter than in a bar application. So again, we can tap it easier. The placement is going to be the same. Coverage is approximately going to be 200 square feet per speaker. 150 feet is better. Again, the coverage is more important. Even coverage is more important than tapping. So 1 speaker for every 10 feet. And when you walk into an application and you're trying to figure out how many speakers or where to place them, when you're looking at even coverage, general rule of thumb, not for paging, but for music, for full audio applications, for every foot high the ceiling is, the speaker is going to be a foot apart. Okay? And this says right here, 10-foot ceiling, speakers can be every 10 feet apart. Okay, so that's a very easy rule to remember when you're looking at those ceiling grids. Those grids are normally, those ceiling tiles are normally 2 by 2, 2 foot apart, right? So every 5, you're going to have a speaker. Okay, so on a 10-foot high ceiling. The 20-foot high ceiling, they're going to be 20 feet apart. 8-foot high ceiling, they're going to be 8 feet apart. Okay. Also, let's talk about headroom real quick. Always reserve 20% for your overall power headroom. This has to do with both line loss and the way speakers work with, power consumption. So 300 watt amplifier, 20% headroom. That's actually, you really want to only allocate 240 watts for your speakers. Again, this is going to make sure that you're not going to be clipping your speakers. You're going to have a nice normal area. That's kind of the safety zone, both for line loss and for the way speakers work. We're not getting into clipping or anything else much today, but just so you know, if you don't allocate some headroom and the speakers do start clipping, you could destroy the speakers, okay? And it's going to cause a short and it's going to take down your whole system. Now let's get into mono versus stereo. Most of you guys know stereo applications. Most of you guys swear by stereo applications. Okay. let's get into what stereo is first before we start talking about mono, because a 70-volt system is mono. Okay, but I want to demystify this idea that stereo is the only way to go, and I don't care what you say, I'm going to do it in stereo. I hear that a lot, and I want to kind of explain why that's not always the best way to do it. Okay, for stereo imaging to be effective, you need to be in the sweet spot, right? You're in a room, you're in a theater, you're in a listening area, and you've got a left and a right. That's why you have a left and right speaker on, on your head. In a public location, where is the sweet spot? Is it that one bar stool where if you move over a foot, now you've got uneven stereo imaging? How can you effectively make every area, every seat in that room a sweet spot? The answer is you can't. I mean, even on a patio, people have a large sitting area in the back of their house. Okay? How are you going to be able to give that a stereo effect and have an even stereo effect? Because you can't cover the whole area. You're going to have uneven imaging, stereo imaging, no matter where you're sitting. The best way to do that is mono. Okay? Mono will provide an even coverage, and it's going to sound the same in every location. Okay? It's put where the people are, which is everywhere, right? I mean, people are going to be everywhere in that room. You cannot know where they're going to be at. So with that being said, you want to go with a mono signal. Now, creating the outdoor zones using 70-volt systems. This is for residential applications. We've been talking about commercial. I've been mentioning residential. Again, there is a lot of speakers out there, backyards, patios, outdoor living areas. That all should be a mono application because you need a lot of speakers to cover that area, right? You can't just take 2 speakers and cover that area nicely and have an even coverage no matter where you're at and know where that sweet spot is. For example, you got 16 speakers. You've got a 300-watt amplifier, the X-Zone 70, tapped at 15 watts. That's a 240-watt load, okay, with the 60 watts of reserve power. Okay, so this gives you the ability to easily calculate and install properly this system. Okay, 16 speakers. Okay, you need more speakers than that. Tap them at 7.5 watts, and now you have 32 speakers on a single speaker wire on a single amplifier. Very easy to cover large areas and give a nice, even signal. You are not losing really anything by going mono. All it's doing is taking that stereo effect and summing it into one channel. Okay. So we've got 30 speakers, or 32, right? 30 speakers, 7.5 watts. That's 7.5. That's 225 watts. It's a 75-watt headroom, right? With future to grow, you can add another couple speakers. Okay. So multiple speakers can be driven by the single amplifier without a complex series parallel wiring. You literally just link them together. Very easy to design, very easy to install, and very cost effective. One wire pull is much cheaper and easier than running 16 different wires to 16 different speakers. More power levels can be achieved in areas with a single amplifier by tapping them at different wattage, and less expensive, like we just mentioned. And it can be easily expanded. We can add volume controls as well. Just because it's a single zone does not mean that you can't have volumes on different rooms. You can Y off this parallel run and go to a separate bathroom and put a volume controller in line. So even though it's one source, you can have different volumes on different rooms running from one amplifier. This also has a streaming mixer amplifier built into it. 300 watts of output power, 70 volt, 100 volt. It also has a 4 ohm operation. So if you do want to use this as a 4 ohm amplifier, you can. Okay, that just does not use the step-up transformer. It also has a USB port for flash drive for audio. So if you don't want to stream, you want to have your music locally stored, you can use it right and put it right on a flash drive. It also has preamp output, so you can actually have additional amplifiers running as well on this. It also has a microphone and audio in. Okay, it has phantom power, so if you're using a condenser mic for paging, it can power that to page over to these zones. It also has a 3.5 audio input jack for plugging in a phone, another audio source. It is very easy to configure. Obviously, you notice there's no configuration window on this device. To be able to configure it, you plug it into the network, and you go to the web browser, and you configure it through the web browser. It also has flexible mounting options, meaning it's got rack mount kit, it has legs, so you can do it wherever you need, install it wherever you need it. It does have the Xstream player built in, okay? So this is an all-in-one piece that gives you network streaming capability, 70-volt output, 100-volt output, 4-ohm output. It's got mic input with ducking. It's got paging ability. A lot of stuff built into this really cool little piece, okay? It also has, since it has the Xstream built in, it has iOS and Android control as well. We already talked, it also has the USB port for playing. Now you're able to add stuff like the Sirius XM, right? You open the app, you put the power button, you hit the Sirius logo, login credentials. If any of you guys have done Russound amplifiers already, it sets up the same way. You're going to open up the app, you're going to add the piece, name it, put it in the room, and rock and roll, okay? One huge thing, if you guys haven't gotten into commercial yet, this isn't just Sirius XM, it's Sirius XM for business. It has the ability to do Sirius XM for business. Most and a lot of players can only do standard Sirius XM. They cannot do the business version, so that's really huge. Now let's take a peek at the front panel. Front panel, it's got mic volume, system volume, and a gauge, okay? Nothing really for the end user to be able to screw up, right? Rear panel features. There's the USB port we've been talking about. There's your 3.5mm jack. Your Phoenix, your switch for 70-volt, 100-volt, or 4-ohm application. What are you running it with? Obviously, it's got your removable IEC cord for nice rack mount capability and being able to wire address everything. It has the Ethernet port for IP streaming and IP control. It has your balanced mic input with gain control and phantom power switch to be able to run it with phantom power if you need. It also has balanced preamp outputs for additional amplifiers. Now keep in mind, even though this is a mono amplifier, take a peek at those preamp outputs. It is not a mono signal. It has left and right stereo, okay? It also has an output connection, which is your speaker outs. And all the nice little things for your ratings. Now let's get into the programming features. Obviously, we talked about easy web configuration. It allows you to connect to the zone via an IP address, hostname, phone, tablet, laptop, any of that. It is easy to configure through a web browser. It has used to unlock the web browser. You need to unlock your controller, the streamers and amp mixers, okay? With the web configuration, the X-Zone 70 can be configured easily, quickly, no software, meaning you don't need to download anything. This gives you the ability to program it. You don't need to pull out your laptop anymore. You can actually set this thing up right from your phone, your smartphone, from your tablet, from any device that has a web browser built into it. And that's really nice, because how many times you guys went out and found out that your laptop is broke? You know, it won't boot up, or somebody else has it, power cord, whatever it is. Everybody has a smartphone nowadays. You can set it up right from that. You go right, open up the web browser, you're good to go. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to go to the web browser. You're going to find your device. You're going to be able to set up the networking info, DHCP or static. You're going to be able to set up the streaming service settings as well. Web config features give you assigned device and named zones. It gives you general network configuration, auto firmware update stuff, zone volume trim, meaning I can adjust the max volume if I need, so they don't blow their speakers, and to be able to enable and disable it, and set AirPlay password. This does have the AirPlay built in. One thing to keep in mind, you can actually add more than one of these devices to a system, so you can have two zones. Do keep in mind that each zone is going to operate independently. You cannot link zones together, but it is going to be controlled all through one app or one controller, which makes it very nice and easy. And above and beyond everything else, you can use the XTS network touchscreen from Russound to control this as well. If anybody has done anything with commercial and even residential, or talk to me about a control system, I say you need at least one system controller that is hardwired into the network in every install. Why? Wi-Fi is not always reliable. You don't always know where your phone is, your tablet is, or if it's a commercial application, maybe you don't want people to be able to use their phone or tablets. So having a hardwired controller is key, and they have that. It is a single gate controller that is running the Russound app built right into it. It has it locked in there, and it is good to go. 4.7-inch screen. It's powered as the A processor. It's running the Russound app. It's powered via PoE, so you don't need any special wiring. Run your Cat 5 to it, power up, and you're rocking and rolling, guys. It gives you all the same capability as the Russound app on your phone. It's identical, which makes it very easy to jump back and forth, but you know where this keypad is going to be at all times. Now, get into a couple other things that Russound just added. They just added their volume controller, their 50 watt by 70 volt volume controller. Okay, so you can add multiple zones. It's just a rotary volume, 11 spots, 50 watts RMS, screw down. You know, it looks like a standard controller. It comes in white, ivory, and light almond plates and knobs. So let's get into some of the quick selling points. I know we're wrapping up here pretty quick. I'm a couple minutes over. I know you guys want to go. Just hold on just a little bit longer. 300 watts. Has a streamer built in. It's got AirPlay. It's got a USB port. It's app-driven, which means we can set it up and control it from any smartphone, tablet, or PC. 1U rack space for saving, so it is rack mountable. Okay. Now, not just commercial, but also outdoor zones, meaning you can put in multiple speakers without the impedance matching. Plus, there's Sirius XM for business, okay, for the commercial applications. Again, this is huge, guys. That's why it's extra bold, everything else. So thank you guys for sticking on. Before you guys get off, what we are doing, there's 5 new models in the 70 volt system, okay? That's the, so we've got the Russound X-Zone 70. We've got the volume controllers. We've got the speakers. We've got also the XTS keypad, okay? Multiple items. These guys are going to be 10% off until Wednesday the 19th, 6 a.m., okay? So that's 48 hours. It cuts off tomorrow at 6 p.m. This deal does, and it's only for you guys that sat through and bared with me to listen to this PowerPoint, okay? So, again, 10% off all of these 70 volt versions as well as the XTS keypad, okay? Please take advantage of it. Great deal. You don't get it very often. This is just for you guys that have sat through and watched this PowerPoint with me in this webinar, so thank you guys. I see that a lot of you guys waited until the very last minute to post your questions. Thank you guys so much for that. So what we're going to do here, let's first jump into questions. And before we do, again, thank you, the guys that have to hop off. I understand. Feel free to reach out to me if you can't wait right now. Reach out to me anytime, or reach out to your local capital sales account manager, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or help you with any designs you need. So let's jump into the questions now. Your first question was, why CI ignore 70 volt sound quality is my reason. 70 volt sounds thin. Please explain how to overcome. Do you know? So this, again, is more of a myth than anything else, okay? And it's not, I wouldn't say it's a myth, because, yes, 70 volt used to sound very thin, okay? 70 volt has came a long way. It's not the old paging metal speakers that you had when you were back in high school walking around the school, okay? And that's what a lot of people think about when they say 70 volt, okay? 70 volt is almost a full range, except for going down to 70 volt rolls off at 60 hertz, okay? So you are not going to get much below 60 hertz through a 70 volt speaker. Now, with that being said, how many in ceiling speakers, do you really push below 60 hertz? Okay. And if you do want to bump down below 60 hertz, you can add in ceiling subs. Okay. You don't need as many subs as you do main speakers. Now, again, I have installed hundreds, if not thousands, of 70-volt systems personally, and I've never had a single client complain about the sound quality being thin. And this is in dance studios. This is in nightclubs. This is in places where they want it to sound good. So the biggest thing with 70-volt, just like with 8-ohm applications, is speaker quality. If you go and buy a $10 70-volt speaker, of course it's going to sound thin, right? You're buying a $10 speaker. It's the same thing if are you going to put a $10 speaker in somebody's home theater? You know, it's that same idea, okay? If you go and spend $100 or more, a couple $100, a few $100 on a 70-volt speaker, it's the same, you're going to get the same quality. You're going to get the same quality as what you get by spending a couple $100 on a home theater speaker. So the biggest thing is sound quality is going with a good quality speaker, not your school walking through the page, you know, the area, the big metal saucers that were a couple bucks a piece. I'm going to jump a couple questions because it says, is there a 70-volt sub? There is 70-volt low-end reinforcements, but again, 70-volt you are not going to get below 60 hertz, okay? And the reason being is the transformers. So what you would want to do is go with a 8-ohm subwoofer if you need an extra LF reinforcement. Now, it probably will only take one sub or a couple subs depending on the size of the room. You know, so then you can still put 16 speakers, 30 speakers, however many speakers you need to cover that room and do one or a couple subs, and that's it. And that's, again, where that preamp out comes in play as well, where you can run it to a larger 8-ohm amplifier for just your subs. So let's go into how do I become a Russound certified dealer? Reach out to myself, reach out to your account managers, and we will get you certified. We'll get you through everything. It's going to be, we'll try and make it as painless as possible, very easy. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, just give us a call and we'll get you set up. So, what is a Sirius XM for business compared to residential Sirius XM? A lot of it is no commercials. There's also licensing involved. If you guys walk in and find out that you could get fined a ton if you don't have a Sirius XM commercial license or business license and you're playing Sirius XM residential in a commercial application. So it's all licensing, and most players do not support the business licensing. This one does, which is really a big point. Okay. Bumping up the tap sounds a bit better. 60 hertz is no biggie. Yeah, Mike, that's correct. I mean, again, the more power you give to it, the better range you're going to have. So if you want to put a few less speakers on there and tap it up to 60 watt taps or whatever the speakers are. But again, a lot of it comes to sound quality is the actual speaker as well. Again, a lot of speakers don't sound great until you actually start pushing some audio to them, you know, push some power to them. So again, it's sound quality. And let's see here. Is the price different of Sirius XM? Yes, there is price differences between residential and commercial licensing for Sirius XM. I can't answer what the subscriptions are. You'd have to hop on Sirius XM's website and look at that. I don't sell Sirius XM, so I cannot tell you for sure. So, do they use better speakers? Can you explain, go a little farther on that question, Mike? Do they use better speakers? Let's see here. Oh, I answered that question already. Perfect. Thanks, Mike. Is there any other questions, guys? I know I kind of ran through a lot. I did run through a lot of info, a lot of stuff about 70 volts, a lot of stuff where to jump between 70 volt and 8 ohm. We covered a lot of stuff built into this X zone. I mean, I've been dealing with commercial and 70 volt for a long time, and this piece answers a ton in a very little package. Okay, so I would be happy to discuss more offline as well. So you guys can definitely reach out to me. Another question just popped in. The X Player, is there any subscriptions? No. To have the X Player itself, there is no subscriptions. Okay, to have this X Zone 70, there is one-time purchase. You can play it. So if they decide they don't want to go with Sirius XM, Maybe it's a residential application. You want to use this to power your outdoor living area, okay, because you need a lot of speakers, okay? Or they have a huge great room and you want to put multiple speakers in there, whatever it is, indoor pool, I don't know. And they want to use Pandora, Spotify, things, or or TuneIn somewhere, or VTuner, where you don't need to pay. The only subscriptions you're going to have are from specific streaming sources that they want to use, hence SiriusXM. The player itself has no subscriptions. What is the difference between 70 volt and 100 volt? It's honestly just the voltage going down the line. 100 volt is used a lot more in European applications and overseas. 70 volt is used more here. Most amplifiers both have 70 volt and 100 volt options. Guys are going to probably always run into 70 volt. With all the years I've been doing commercial, I've never run into an application or an install where I needed to do 100 volt. Okay, it's more overseas, other locations where they do 100 volt. Analog applications, yes, they would. Do all analog applications need to go through 3.5 millimeter jack? Yes, it does. It doesn't have RCAs, it just has that 3.5 millimeter jack for the analog in. Let's see here. But if it does have, if they have the audio on a flash drive, a external hard drive, you can run that through the USB port. And we'll be able to see all of your music and data through the app on that USB drive. Can you use the keypads that are on the residential system if needed? I believe you're talking, I don't know if you're talking, the Russound keypads. Yes, definitely the same Russound keypad as what's used in the Russound amp 70 volt system. It's the standard XTS keypad. If you're talking third-party keypads like RTI or URC or any other automation system, that is going to depend on if they have a two-way module, driver, whatever wordage they want to use, built for Russound. Okay, this goes on your standard Russound system. It shows up the same as a standard Russound amplifier. So if they have a Russound driver or two-way module built already, then yes, it will work just fine. Okay, nothing has to be specific for this amplifier. Can you choose a streamed internet station? I don't want to say yes or no on that one. Okay. I haven't dove in for that much on into specifics for buttons. I believe you just have to select Spotify and then choose your favorite, whatever's been saved in there as well. But again, unfortunately, I can't tell you for sure on that one. Now, it does depend. If you have a control system, Mike, you can program that into specific control systems as well and shoot it into there. Third-party controllers, that's going to depend on what they have written in their API. Where the Russound keypad connects to this amp? It's all network-based. So you have to have the Russound amp connected to the network for programming. The keypad is standard PoE, which means it's going to plug into your PoE switch or PoE injector, plug it into the same network, and now everything's connected. So it doesn't have a hardwire connection right into this amplifier. It's all gone right over the network, which makes it much easier for installation. So you can have as many keypads as you want. You can have one, if it's a commercial application, have one behind, let's say, the bar or in the room, another one in the manager's office. You can have as many keypads as you want, and iOS and Android and everything else controlling this amplifier. It's not specific to the amount of ports on the back. Are there any other questions, guys? If not, definitely feel free to reach out to myself if you have any questions on the product, designs, you want to talk more about 70 volt, whatever it is, you can definitely reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you guys more. People that you guys that have called, I have no problem, and I enjoy talking to you guys and learning about what's going on. Also, reach out to your account managers as well at Capital. They're also well-versed in the product in 70 volt. Anybody here would be happy to help you out with products, applications, anything, any questions, or if you just want to chat. So also, please take advantage of this 10% off. Okay, we really try to work hard to get you guys deals for you guys that take the time, hopped on, and watched this webinar. We try and do every webinar to make a deal for you guys. So please take advantage of this. This goes until tomorrow at 6 p.m. is the cutoff. Okay, you need to have your order in by 6 p.m. tomorrow to get this 10% off. So again, thank you guys for hopping on. I look forward to hearing you guys throughout the week. If you guys need anything, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys in the next webinar in a couple weeks.